Welcome back, everybody, to the Fresh Ice Hockey Podcast. This is episode 3. I'm Andy Matusi alongside my brother Brian. We've got a great show in store for you today. Please bear with me. My voice is feeling a little hoarse. I was at the Cleveland Monsters game last night, doing a lot of yelling, mostly because they played like dog water. So, a little disappointing there. Without any further ado, though, I'm going to pass it over to Brian so we can get this show on the road. Brian, how you doing, man?
I'm good, buddy. We were also at a hockey game last night. My wife and I went with some of our friends. Had a really good time at the Milwaukee Admirals game, and we'll talk about them in a little bit because they're on quite a run right now. But my voice is not hoarse really at all because they spent most of the night hemmed in their own end, and I'm glad they pulled out the win because it was not looking great for them most of the game. So we'll get to that in a little while, but we are going to waste no time today. We have quite a few things we want to talk about, and we're going to get started right away by talking about Marc-Andre Fleury and the Minnesota Wild. The Wild did a fantastic tribute for Marc-Andre Fleury on Friday night against the Penguins to honor his 1,000 games played in the NHL, which is only the fourth time a goalie has done that in NHL history, as well as honoring his 552 wins, which are second most in NHL history. And I think everything about the night was perfect between the video tribute that he did from the team, his teammates, management, the owner, his kids, and all that. And then the team went out on the ice, and it was a hard-fought win, but we got to see a lot of vintage Marc-Andre Fleury acrobatic saves. They did get some big goals in that game, and from their stars like Kaprizov, guys that are looking to really get going this second half. But for Minnesota, this is kind of exactly the win they needed to start the stretch run here. If they really truly believe they can make the playoffs, this is the kind of way they're going to have to. This is going to be the way they're going to have to play to do that. And I think what a better night to get a run started on than Fleury's tribute night.
I agree. You hit the nail right on the head. Fleury looked excellent last night. I mean, like you said, vintage Marc-Andre Fleury. The video tribute they did was incredible. I don't know how any person can watch that and not at least get a little choked up, especially when they had his kids on at the end. That was adorable. I thought it was a great tribute to an amazing goaltender. Second all-time in wins. He looked great between the pipes last night.
Friday.
I'm sorry, Friday. I don't know what day it is, man. He looked great between the pipes, and the Wild as a whole looked good. With what you said, this is the kind of game they're going to need to play from here on out if they have any hopes of making the playoffs. And if Fleury continues to perform like he did Friday, I think they'll make a good run. I think if they play that way, they're going to look good the rest of the season.
And to kind of go back to what I said, when I said this is the game they need to play, I don't mean getting outshot and caved in the third period, but they need to be getting goals from their star players, and they really need their goalies to come up big for them. That's been their biggest, issue they've had this season is the goaltending's been all over the place. But this is going to be the kind of game they need. They need goals from their star players, and they need the goaltending, and that's exactly what they got this game. If they could bring down the shots against a little bit, I think that would be great, and it would probably help with the whole winning thing they need to do. So, like I said, I really, I am a Minnesota fan myself, but just in general, it was so wonderful to see that tribute they did for Marc-Andre Fleury, and it was perfect that it was against the Penguins.
Absolutely, and I don't think you need to be a Wild or a Penguins fan to appreciate Marc-Andre Fleury. He's one of the most respected players in the league. Aside from being an astounding hockey player, he's an amazing person, and everybody who knows him off the ice will tell you that. He's one of the most generous people out there. He has such a great, positive attitude. I'm not a Wild fan or a Pittsburgh Penguins fan, but I'm definitely a Marc-Andre Fleury fan. So I thought it was a very good tribute. He looked great in net, 34 saves on 36 shots, and you had Kirill Kaprizov come through there halfway through I guess it was like about halfway through the third with the go-ahead goal. So they look good.
Yeah, they were unreal. Speaking of Fleury and the teams he's played for, we're going to move on to the Vegas Golden Knights next, who are rolling as of late. They stopped the Oilers' 16-game win streak on Tuesday night last week. and
Yay.
and they're really playing well. I mean, they're missing some of their big guys. They're missing Jack Eichel and Shea Theodore to injury right now, and they got a couple other guys sidelined like Pavel Dorofeyev, and so they're not firing on all cylinders right now. But they're still winning games like crazy. They're 7-2-1 in their last 10. Aiden Hill's been an absolute brick wall in net. He currently leads the league in save percentage. Other than Connor Hellebuck, I would have to imagine he's the favorite to win the Vezina Trophy for the best goalie this year. It's really starting to look like Vegas is going to be a dangerous team come playoff time again, while it seemed for some reason people had their doubts at the start of the year, even after that big start Vegas had to the season. It seemed like they kind of petered off into December, and then now they're turning it back on, and they're not even a fully healthy lineup. So I'm interested to see where their season goes as we go down the stretch.
Yeah, they've been looking real good, and I think a lot of that has to do with who's behind the bench for them. I obviously, me being a Boston Bruins fan, I'm still a little salty about it. Us losing Bruce Cassidy to them, but he went to Vegas. They've had instant success under him. He's one of the greatest coaches in the league. I don't think anybody's willing to dispute that. So I think that goes a long way for them. Granted, it didn't really burn us in Boston losing him because Jim Montgomery's been great for us, but I think Bruce Cassidy was exactly what Vegas needed. He's a great fit there. The players love him, the fans love him. That goes a long way in a hockey organization. So they're looking real good. They're a very dangerous team, and I think you and I have talked about this before. If there's a team that's going back to back anytime in the near future, it's definitely going to be the Vegas Golden Knights. I'm sure other people might disagree, but that's just my opinion.
If they can stay healthy and Hill can stay in net, I mean, there's no reason to think that it's not possible. I mean, they do everything right. They shoot the lights out on offense. They absolutely shut it down on defense. And when you have a goalie that leads the league in save percentage and you have an excellent coach behind the bench, I mean, everything is going their way right now. And we always say, you know, can they stay healthy? Well, they're not healthy right now, and they're still running most of the league over. And yeah, they're not even first in the division or the conference, but it doesn't matter. I mean, look what they did last year. Nobody thought that, you know, going into the playoffs with Jonathan Quick, Laurent Brossoit, and Aiden Hill, that they'd win the cup, and all of a sudden Aiden Hill turned into a god, and he's been rolling ever since the playoffs started last year.
Well, and my thing with that too is don't base how you think a team is going to perform in the playoffs off their regular season standings. Look at Boston last year, most dominant team in NHL history for the regular season, and then they absolutely shit their pants all over the ice during the first round.
Well,
So
in the playoffs, it's like a different game. A lot of people say the playoff hockey and regular season hockey, it's a different sport almost altogether. So many more penalties are let go in the playoffs. There's way more hitting. It's a different style of game that teams play. So again, you're absolutely right when you say that you can't predict postseason success based on regular season success because it's just such a different game. And that point on the Bruins really is good. Looking back at how good Florida is now, it's not entirely surprising that they beat Boston, but the fashion in which they did, I think, was kind of the part that stunned everybody.
yeah, and I will say I was glad that it was Florida because, as you know, but other people may not, I'm also a Florida Panthers fan, and I'm not a bandwagon fan. I just want to point this out.
He
My
just
wife
likes
and
all
I,
32 teams. He loves them all equally.
that is not true at all.
Okay, all the teams except Montreal and New York.
And Philly. But no, my wife and I have been watching the Panthers since they were bottom of the barrel, man. When Derek McKenzie was still their captain, the dark ages. So it's been fun to watch them too. So I was glad if the Bruins had to go out. I was happy it was the Panthers. I was real proud of the run they had. But I digress. I'm getting a little off topic. Thank you, ADHD. Back to you, Bry Guy.
Well, that's all right. We've all been guilty of that before. So, but yeah, Vegas, like I said, I mean, barring something catastrophic, there's no reason not to set the expectation for them to be winning the Stanley Cup this year. I think for them, especially after winning it last year, anything short of that this year is a disappointment. So, well, let's see how that goes. But now we are going to move on and talk about the Milwaukee Admirals, who we briefly touched on at the start of the show. They, with their win last night, it was a 2-1 shootout win over the Texas Stars. And they have now won 14 games in a row. Everything last night was pointing to the Admirals losing. We got to the game and we walked in towards the end of warm-up, and my wife showed me something on social media that Troy Grosnick was getting the start, which was weird because he started Friday night. And then another fan sitting by us saw on social media that Askarov was injured during warm-up. So the Admirals were coming off of playing Friday night, and the goalie they had start Friday night was going to have to play back-to-back starts, which goalies rarely do. He comes in, he makes 33 saves on 34 shots, gets the shootout win, stops all three shooters in the shootout, and the Admirals set a franchise record with 14 straight wins. I was curious to see, but the AHL's longest win streak of all time is 28 in a row. And
Jesus.
I can't for the life of me remember the name of the team now that I'm on the spot. So that'll be a tough one. I'd be interested to see if the Admirals could rattle off, double up their win streak. I don't think that's probably going to happen, but they're certainly a skilled enough team, and it's been real fun to watch them just run through the league this year.
Man, if they win 28 games in a row, I don't even know. That's ridiculous. I can't even fathom that.
Yeah, and it's killing me because I looked it up so I could remember it for the show, and now it's escaping me what team actually did it. But yeah, 28 in a row, it seems highly unlikely for anybody to do. I think that's an unrealistic expectation to set for anybody. But yeah, speaking of the Admirals, I was listening to the 32 Thoughts podcast with Jeff Merrick and Elliot Friedman. I believe it was this past week. They were talking about the Admirals and their head coach Carl Taylor, and they hit this spot right on the head. It's kind of surprising that Carl Taylor is not an NHL coach yet. He led the Admirals to the Western Conference Final last year in the AHL playoffs, and the team's defending really well. They're getting great goaltending, which getting good goaltending is always going to help you out. But he's had them playing better than any of their seasons that they had under Dean Evison, and he's really evolved as a coach in the American Hockey League, and he's got them playing the right way, especially in the postseason. They had an incredible run last year, and if they hadn't run into Joey Decord and the Firebirds in the playoffs last year, they probably would have gone all the way and won the Calder Cup. But that's beside the point. He's got them on track to make a deep playoff run this year, and with how many NHL clubs are having coaching issues and just underperformance issues this season, I'm interested to see if he lands on an NHL club after this season.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that, because I was going to say we're at a point now where this guy deserves an NHL coaching job, and I truly think it's only a matter of time. I wouldn't be surprised to see him go after this year. I mean, you want to see him stick around, especially with Milwaukee having such great success under him. But this is a guy that, if he's producing this much in the minors, this guy deserves a shot in the show. And I say give it to him. For more than half the teams in the league, you've got nothing to lose right now. A lot of the league is just terrible.
My understanding is that the Predators actually considered bringing up Carl Taylor to be their coach after the end of last season. Ultimately decided to go with Andrew Brunette. That's just the direction that Barry Trotz wanted to go once he took over as GM. So, and it's fine. The Preds are playing pretty well. I mean, I know they've had some struggles this year, but it looks like they'll probably sneak into a playoff spot. But it's very interesting to me to see an NHL quality coach still coaching in the minors, but as a fan of the team he coaches for, I really can't complain, and I'm really hoping we're seeing some Milwaukee Admirals games in June this year, possibly a trip to the championship, so we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I'm excited for it too. Obviously, I live in Cleveland, so it's a little harder for me to watch the games, but you do a good job keeping me in the loop. I think Nashville having Andrew Brunette as their head coach is good for them. He was good with us in Florida. It just wasn't quite the right fit, but I think he's doing fine in Nashville. And Nashville's got a lot of things they got to work on going forward, but I think he'll be a good fit there. But I digress. I think Milwaukee's on a good pace right now.
Yeah, they are. They look really good. And again, for a team that got absolutely peppered last night, they managed to keep the puck out of the net. There were a few scary moments, but they managed to keep the puck out of the net. They held the fort. They were losing a lot of foot races to pucks, but when you're tired and you had just played the night before, you do everything you can to at least keep the puck out of your own net, and they did just that and were able to squeak it out in the shootout. So good on them, and really good on the coach. Like I said, I think we're going to see him in the NHL next year, but I'm sure that'll be a conversation we have this summer when he's inevitably hired somewhere. So now we're going to get into the tough look of the week, but before we do, we want to take this opportunity to mention our friends over at Buck-a-Puck for ALS. Buck-a-Puck for ALS is a not-for-profit organization founded by Toronto youth hockey players and moms who lost their coach to ALS in 2022. They've recently partnered with ALS Canada, and their goal is to raise $1 million towards a cure for ALS, or as it's often referred to, Lou Gehrig's disease. So how does it work? For every buck you raise, you shoot a puck. Whether it's at the rink, in the driveway, or on the lake, shoot your pucks, record it, and tag Buck-a-Puck for ALS. Participants who raise the most money will win amazing prizes, such as a coaching session with Toronto Maple Leafs assistant coach Dean Chinaweth, Toronto Marlies head coach John Gruden, Maple Leafs tickets, signed NHL jerseys, iPhones, Xboxes, and more. So score big in your community and visit www.buckapuckforals.com to register or donate today, and be sure to follow them on Facebook and Instagram at Buck-a-Puck for ALS.
The Tough Look of the Week is brought to you by Lighting's Property Management out of Kenosha, Wisconsin. For all your lawn care, landscaping, and snow removal needs, give Lighting's a call. They do it all. And with that, the Tough Look of the Week is the Colorado Avalanche, who can't seem to buy a win coming out of the All-Star break. Brian, fire away.
Well, we've had this discussion, not necessarily on here, but we've talked about it, and it's been talked about around the league a good chunk of this year. Colorado's had a lot of goaltending issues. Alexander Georgiev, who I don't know if he still leads the league in wins or not, but is near the top of the list despite having a sub-900 save percentage. The Avalanche came out of the break, 5-3 loss to New Jersey on last Tuesday, 5-2 loss to Carolina on Thursday, and last night, an absolute stinker against the Panthers, 4-0 loss, and they gave up 43 shots to the Panthers, which the Panthers are an excellent team, so no shame in losing to a good team, but when you yourself are an elite scoring team, to put up no goals, it's tough. And 4 goals over a 3-game stretch, and in that same span of time giving up 14, it's not good for a team whose expectations should be very high. I mean, Colorado, again, their goaltending's been much maligned this year, but to come out and fall flat on your face 3 games in a row coming out of the All-Star break is unacceptable, and you almost have to start to wonder what's the breaking point here, and is there a move they can even make? I mean, they're so tight against the salary cap. It almost doesn't seem like there's a feasible trade out there for them to get a reliable goalie.
Yeah, this is fun because in my mind, I'm thinking you and I both have a mutual friend who is a diehard Colorado Avalanche fan, and I'm not going to mention her name because I didn't consult her before this, but I'm sure she's going to be super pumped listening to us bash Colorado. Yeah. So sorry, it's not personal.
Every time I see them playing a game, I'm like, I know she's losing her shit right now.
Yeah, and she makes sure to text me and voice her displeasure. So, but with that being said, back to your point about them being an offensive, what's the word I'm looking for? Yes, thank you. This is a team that 90% of the time they can outscore their goaltending issues. It's not
how
usually
they won the Stanley Cup, but
yeah, but I mean even against
do twice,
right? But even against Florida, I mean it's no secret that Sergei Bobrovsky is a good goalie, hands down. But it's no secret that he can be very inconsistent. So he has those stretches where he's a brick wall, you're not getting anything past him. But I'm just like, a team that's an offensive juggernaut like Colorado can't get anything past Bobrovsky. And like you said, part of that was because the Panthers are an absolutely stacked team right now. They're on fire. Defense is looking good too, so that's helping Bobrovsky out a lot. But I was a little surprised that it was a 4-0 shutout on Florida's end. Not because Florida's not good, but because I just expected more out of Colorado's offense.
Yeah, I think you're right on the nose with that. I will say props to Sergei Bobrovsky, though. 35 save shutout. I mean, that's nothing to sneeze at all. It really was an incredible performance, especially given Colorado's offensive talent.
Yes.
But again, a team that good, if you're giving up 4 goals, you need to be scoring. I mean, that's just the bottom line. And again, they outscored a lot of their problems when they won the Stanley Cup a couple years ago. But it just does not seem like the same formula is there with Georgiev and that. And as much as I think a trade to acquire a goalie would help them, it doesn't seem like they have much options. Salary wise, it doesn't really seem like they have the room to make that move without sacrificing something significant from their team. And I don't really think they can afford to do that.
Well, I think Georgiev. I'm not going to get into my opinions on him. That's not important. I don't have anything good to say. So
I want to hear it.
Well, I just think he sucks. There, we'll keep it short, sweet, to the point.
Yeah, that's pretty much right on. He's definitely been a benefactor of playing for a team that's, got Nathan McKinnon and Val Nichushkin and Mikko Rantanen. Goodness gracious. Although they don't have Nichushkin right now, he's in the player assistance program. But again, a team with a lot of offensive talent. Cale Makar, absolute beauty of a defenseman, great skater. They have so many incredible players that they can fill in the net. But again, I think Georgiev's the benefactor of being on a team that's that highly skilled. And I think that's ultimately why he pretty much leads the league in wins because, I could probably go out there and strap on a pair of goalie pads and a blocker and a glove and probably pick up a win if you gave me a few tries.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you want my honest opinion, that guy plays goalie like I do on NHL 24. Shout out NHL 24.
Sub 900 save percentage. That's your middle name.
Yes, sir.
So I mentioned that Colorado could use a goalie, and as much as I don't like to speculate, there are a few things I do want to speculate on with you this show.
Let's go.
And one of them is a goaltender, Juuse Saros, the goaltender for the Nashville Predators. There has been rumors all season long that, is he going to be on the move? Nashville's got Yaroslav Askarov in Milwaukee right now playing really well. Is it time to bring him up and see what he's got? Is it time to move on from Saros? And I don't know that any of it's really warranted for him, given his skill and the fact that he's most of the reason that the Preds have been hanging in there because when they've been struggling, he's helped bail them out a lot. But he's a fantastic goalie, and I think any team would be lucky to have him. But where does he go, and what kind of return do they get for him? Because if I'm Nashville, I know they have Askarov in the minors, but is it worth trading a goalie is good and who's only 28 years old? He's going to be 29 in April. Is it worth trading a goalie that's probably in his prime to bring up a guy that you really don't know what you have?
Yeah, that's a tough call. Like you said, I don't want to speculate either, even though that's pretty much what we're about to spend the second half of this show doing.
Yep.
And we love more than being wrong on this show. So here we are.
Well, if nothing, we're good at being wrong. We're very good at
that. Hey, if you're going to be bad at something, be the best at being bad. So, well, yeah, we can make that our slogan. I think, like you said, he's an excellent goaltender. He's about to turn 29. And you and I have been watching this guy since, I still lived in Wisconsin and we were watching him in Milwaukee. And you could tell he was going to be good then. But to speculate where he's going to go now, I think he'd fit in well in Colorado. But as you mentioned before, they're fighting a war against cap space right now. So what is Saros's contract right now? I don't have it up.
He is making $5 million per year against the cap, and that runs through the end of next season.
Okay. Yeah, so I don't see Colorado happening. I think he might be a good fit. I think he would be a powerful asset to them. And back to Colorado, they get good goaltending. Watch out. But I don't know. It's hard to see. I'm trying to think. Do they get rid of Merzlikins in Columbus and get Saros? It's just, I don't know. They don't really have anything to give up in Columbus for Saros, though.
That's the thing, and I really don't think that's the solution there. Columbus has so many more layers of problems, and if Saros, let's hypothetically say he went to Columbus, his contract's up at the end of next season. He's a good enough goalie where he's making $5 million against the cap now. He could probably almost double that in the free agency market. I don't think the fit there is Columbus. It's going to be a team that's that's on the cusp of greatness and needs a goalie. So I'll be excited to see where he goes after this contract's up. But truthfully, I would love to see him stay in Nashville. I want to see Nashville make
Absolutely.
a run with him as their goalie. He's really fun to watch. And again, I love watching Marc-Andre Fleury. I've loved watching him since I started watching hockey. And Saros reminds me so much of Fleury. He's such an acrobat, and he's, you get a lot of cardiac goaltending with him, but it's fun to watch if you're a fan. And I would love to see him stay in Nashville, and they really love him there. So I think it would suck to see him go.
I have to add this in here because we're talking about Juuse Saros, and I think you know where I'm going
I
with
was
this.
wondering if you were going to tell your story.
I am absolutely good. So I have a Juuse Saros story with me personally, and it has absolutely nothing to do with where he's going in the trade right now. But back in 2016, my buddies and I went to the Admirals' last game of the season, which also happened to be their last regular season game at the Bradley Center before it was torn down and they built Fiserv Forum. But after the game, my buddies and I, we liked to drive for Uber on the side just to make extra money. And so after we'd go to Admirals games, we'd go drive around Milwaukee, drive for Uber for a couple hours, make like $300 in a night. And so I got this call. Long story short, I got two ride requests and two separate ride requests. The first one, this guy gets in my car. He's wearing a suit. I start talking to him. I'm like, "What, do you work for the team?" He goes, "No, I play." Well, it was a guy named Matt White. I don't even know if he's still playing hockey at this point. He went to the Ontario Reign. No, he came to Milwaukee from Ontario. That's what it was. Brian's looking it up right now. I can see it.
I was going to say, I'm looking now. Keep going.
But anyway, so I drop that guy off at a bar and I get another ride request from the Bradley Center. So I pull up. Here comes Juuse Saros walking right out of the Bradley Center, hops in my back seat. And I was like, holy shit, this is Juuse Saros in my back seat. So I start talking to him. And at the time, I haven't really watched too many interviews with him now, but at the time, his English wasn't the greatest. And so I was wearing all my Milwaukee Admirals stuff. And from the back seat, the first thing he says to me is, "You go to game?" And I was like, "This game?" He goes, "Yeah." And I was like, "Yeah, I was at the game." He goes, "Oh, what'd you think?" And I was like, "Well, you lost, so I wasn't super excited about it, but I was like, it's fun. I like going to the games." He goes, "You coming through playoff?" And I was like, "Yeah, we'll be at the playoffs." I never went to a playoff game that season. And then,
for what it's worth, I don't think they won any of the playoff games of the year. I'm pretty sure they got swept out of the playoffs that season.
I'm pretty sure it was against Grand Rapids. They knocked them out. But it was fine because then a month later I moved to Florida. So, but I just thought it was cool that I had a Milwaukee Admirals player in my car, two of them, and one of them was Juuse Saros, and now he's damn near a household name as far as goaltenders go in the NHL. So
to go back to Matt White, I can't even begin to pronounce this team's name. He plays in the Russian Professional Hockey League, the Continental Hockey League. I can't even begin to pronounce this team name.
the Tito's vodka.
It's
Yeah.
in English. If you pronounce it with an English pronunciation, it looks like Neftek Hemik Nizhnekamsk. I can't even. Yeah,
Sounds like a nuclear launch code.
oh boy, that's tough.
Don't say that out loud.
Yeah, no kidding. So yeah, he plays in the KHL. It says he still plays. He is, how old is he? He's 34 years old. And yeah, so he's still playing professional hockey, just in Europe instead of in America. So, and the KHL is no soft league either. There's a lot of really good players that play over there. It's just not the NHL.
Yeah, and back to Juuse Saros though. Giving him a ride, I gave him a ride to the same bar, so I'm guessing the whole team probably went there after the game. But we had a good conversation. He was a real nice guy. So I'm always going to be a Juuse Saros fan, even if he ends up playing for somebody I can't stand.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see if he really does get moved. I mean, there are a few teams that could really benefit from having him as a goalie. I mean, Colorado's the first one that comes to mind, but if you're the Preds, you don't want to trade him within the division, first of all.
So
and I really don't think there's no feasible trade I think Colorado can make to acquire a goalie like Saros without sacrificing something significant. And I think that's going to hold him up. You know who really could use Saros as a goalie and they could probably make it work is the Los Angeles Kings.
Oh, dude, we're going to talk about those bums again?
We're not going to
talk
about
on, man.
the Kings
3 weeks
again.
in a row.
But I know it's just weird how they always come up. I'm not an LA fan or anything like that, but
they got your boy Big Safe Dave. They're good.
The honest, well, and that's my thing. I'm like, Big Save Dave is taking over the net for them, and he's actually playing really well. But they have the right roster structure where they could probably move some pieces and acquire Saros, and they have enough picks and stuff where I could see a trade. If it doesn't work out, put it this way, if it doesn't work out with Big Save Dave, like through the end of this month, like if he starts to fall off, don't be surprised if LA jumps into the conversation. I wouldn't be anyways. I mean, this is exactly what they need. And I will say this, Saros does have only a .902 save percentage this year, which is pretty low for what we expect from him. But again, Nashville's been kind of all over the place this season, and so I don't think it's a him issue. I just think the whole team's kind of been, rough around the edges this season. I think his numbers will go up if he goes to another team, but again, I really hope he doesn't.
I'm with you. I do want to see him stay in Nashville, at least for a couple more weeks till we go to the game against Colorado, ironically.
Yeah, I was going to talk about that in one of our upcoming podcasts. Andrew and I and a couple of our closest friends are taking a boys' weekend trip to Nashville, and we're really excited about that. So hopefully we'll be sharing some stuff on social media from the game, and I think it'll be a blast. I mean,
yeah,
weekends with the boys are always fun, right? But I think it'll be a really cool trip. And we just talked about Colorado and about Nashville, and they're playing each other in the game we're going to, so that should be a lot of fun. Who knows? Saros might be the Avalanche's goalie by then.
I'm gonna be mad as hell.
Yeah, I would be too. I would be really upset. I'm not gonna lie. But again, I don't want to speculate too much on this because we could be completely wrong. But it is just interesting to see how much the league could change with one trade. Speaking of speculation, we're going to move into the Arizona Coyotes, who I really don't want to talk about because everybody around the league has talked about this till they've been blue in the face, and I'm just sick and tired of the Coyotes. I really am sick and tired of the Coyotes.
I think the entire league is.
And by entire league we mean the fans, the players, the other 31 NHL team owners, the league officials themselves are. I mean, this is just a carnival with this team. What are you thinking about Arizona? I mean, there's talks they're trying to buy land to build a new arena there. There's talks they might go relocate. Salt Lake City really wants a team. What do you think?
I'd say move the team. I mean, how bad is it that they're playing a freaking high school gymnasium damn near right now. I mean, it's just a joke. That whole organization is a joke at this point. Move the team out of Arizona. Arizona, by no stretch, is something I consider a hockey state. I move the team somewhere else. And the thing I like about relocating them instead of just shutting down the organization is, okay, so we relocate them to a different city that wanted an expansion franchise anyway, and that still gives two other cities the opportunity to get an expansion franchise on top of that. So I think relocating the team is the best option. I don't know that, me personally, I don't say Salt Lake City as my first choice, but I don't think it's a bad option. I think they could thrive there as long as the team doesn't continue the way they have been in Arizona. I think different ownership would benefit the team a lot, but I've also heard rumors right now that the NHL's trying to take over ownership. Again, this is all rumors and speculation, so don't take this as credible news, but this is all just rumors you're hearing. I've heard they've been trying to buy land. I heard that the NHL gave them till the All-Star break to figure out what they're going to do as far as a new arena, and they didn't meet that deadline. There's just all kinds of things circulating. So this is something that's hard to speculate on. But my opinion is move the team, start fresh somewhere else, see where you go from there.
Well, and real quick on the Salt Lake City thing, I will just say this. First of all, Salt Lake City, they have an arena that they could make work for hockey while they build an actual NHL arena. They already have an arena there. They have an ownership group that very badly wants to have an NHL team, whether it's through expansion, through relocation, whatever. They want a team there, and honestly, regardless of how it happens, they're going to get one. Gary Bettman is on board with putting a team there. It's the worst kept secret in the league. It'll eventually happen, but that's a different subject for a different time, because when that inevitably happens, we will spend a lot of time talking about it. As for Arizona, and Gary Bettman's done a good job, the commissioner of the league. He's done a good job trying to, he's a lawyer. That's what he is. He's a lawyer, and he's good with his lawyer speak, and he never gives away too much when he talks about anything, but you can tell he's pretty much fed up with it at this point. He's got 31 other owners who are tired of this carnival in Arizona, and he wants all 32 teams to have, consistency. He wants a good NHL sized building. He wants fans going to the games. I'm sure he doesn't want to deal with any of this drama and this bullshit with finding an arena. Oh, we can't find the land. Oh, no, this arena we voted on, it didn't get voted. The vote didn't get approved, so now they have nowhere to play. And this plan they had to play in the college arena for 3 seasons while they built their arena is now out the window. And hypothetically, if they stay in Arizona and build a new facility, they're going to be stuck playing in that college arena by the time it's all said and done for like 5 years, and that's just unacceptable. And I will counterpoint your opinion of Arizona saying that it's not a true hockey market. Well, it's definitely not a traditional one, but with how big the Phoenix and Scottsdale metropolitan areas are, there is definitely the people there to build a fan base. But the problem is you can't do that when the on-ice product sucks, it's run like hell, and they don't have a building. I mean, pick any team in the league. Let's take who's a really good market. Let's take Chicago. Take the Chicago Blackhawks and stuff them inside of a 3,000 seat arena. They'll sell it out every time because it's Chicago. But what player wants to play in an arena that small? I mean, that's the biggest complaint. It seems is that the arena's so small it doesn't feel like an NHL atmosphere, and the amenities aren't quite up to snuff compared to what other arenas offer. Who was playing them the other night? We had the game on. Oh, Vegas and Arizona were playing the other day, and we had the game on. My wife and I did, and they're showing the cameras walking through the concourse, and there is hardly any room to walk. Now, again, it's 4,000 seat arena, but there's no room in there. The building sucks. The on-ice product has been terrible. It's literally its entire existence. They've made the conference finals once, and that was their only good playoff run. They've been a nightmare since their inception there. So while it hasn't worked out there with the Coyotes specifically, I am in agreement with Arizona is definitely a feasible hockey market if it's done right, and it just hasn't been done right at all on any level.
Well, and back to your point about like the actual arena they play in, have you seen the length of that walk from the locker room to the ice?
No, and I don't want to because I don't want to hate more things about this than I already do.
Dude, they're fucking doing a freaking 4x400 meter relay just to get to the damn ice from the locker room. It's pathetic.
Yeah, so I do think Arizona is a market where hockey could work, but I don't think it's ever going to work with this group. I personally think the best option for the Coyotes is relocation, and Salt Lake City wants a team. They got an owner that's hungry to get a team, hungry to win. And you've seen how well it worked with Vegas and Seattle. I mean, Vegas is now a Stanley Cup champion. They've been incredible all 6 years they've been in the league. 7 now, I guess. Seattle, the response there was really good. I mean, they have great attendance for their games. They made the playoffs last year, won a round. And so the future's looking bright in Seattle already, too. A lot of their prospects are, looking like they're going to be good quality players. So we can see that having a fresh start in a market is a good way to go. Now, the advantages that Vegas and Seattle had were that they were expansion franchises, so they got to pick from groups of players that had already been in the league. And if Arizona relocates, whatever city they go to is just going to get that team. But I think under different management, different ownership, I definitely think there's a chance that they can turn this around and make this specific group of players into something much better than it is.
Yeah, I don't really have anything else to add to that because you hit all those on the head. We're on the same page when it comes to Arizona, and I really think the whole league is. The whole league is tired of dealing with this Arizona Coyotes crap. Gary Bettman's tired of dealing with it, and most importantly, we're all tired of dealing with Gary Bettman. So
yeah, well, we are. Well, and you know what? As much shit as we give Gary Bettman, I'll give him this. I mean, he's the commissioner of the league. The NHL's already had to take over ownership of this team once. They don't want to fucking do it again. The guy's got a whole league to run. Like I said, he's got 31 other owners he's got to attend to. Why does he want to deal with the stress of running an NHL or of having the league run an NHL franchise? It should never have to be this way. Not only it should not have to be this way once, but if it has to happen twice, I mean, what else do you need to see to move this team out of there and end the nightmare? If they really wanted to be in Arizona that bad, move the Coyotes out and make a new expansion franchise with an owner that gives a shit. Because at this point, that's what it's going to take. It's going to take an owner that gives a shit and wants to pay his own money to build the arena. And that's what Salt Lake City's going to offer. The owner wants to pay to build an arena out there for an NHL team. And that's what it's going to take. And taxpayers clearly don't want to pay all that money in Arizona for something that might not stick. So that's what it's going to take out there. That's the bottom line.
I wholeheartedly agree. Let's get away from Arizona now because it's giving me a headache.
I know. I say my blood pressure's starting to go up. We should probably move
on.
We're actually getting pretty close to wrapping up the show here, but as we record, it is 11:30 a.m. on Super Bowl Sunday. This is not a football show by any means, but
12:30 by me.
We love Mr. Eastern time. We are definitely sports fanatics. We are both big football fans. So although this show is not about football, Andrew, I do want to hear what your thoughts are on today's game and who are you taking to win and what's the final score going to be?
My two thoughts. Well, my one big thought and my prediction. My thought on the game is fuck the 49ers. And my prediction is Kansas City Chiefs, final score 31-7, because I'm predicting, I know yours is going to be different, but I'm predicting San Fran's going to fall apart. And that's what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping we see my boy Travis Kelce get that third ring. I'm looking forward to it. The Chiefs are a lot of fun to watch. And ultimately, I absolutely love Andy Reid. Your turn.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I do have Kansas City winning this game. I'm actually in a betting pool at work, so I have my number for the Chiefs as 4 and my number for the Niners as 8. So I'm hoping like a 24 to like a 34 to 28 kind of game or something like that, or a 24 to 8 game or something like that. I'm in a betting pool at work. I definitely want to win some dough. But as far as the game goes, I am always a believer in sports that when you have one of the best players of a generation playing, it does the league better for them to be winning. And in the NFL's case right now, it's, it was Brady for all those years with the Patriots, and we all got sick of the Patriots, and I get it. And I'm an Atlanta fan, so it was tough to watch one of those Super Bowls that New England won. But when you have a great player in a generation, it does good for the league. I think it personally does great for the league to have them winning all the time. And in this case now it's Pat Mahomes. He's going to be going for his third Super Bowl ring, and Travis Kelce is the same way, third ring. And everybody loves Coach Reid. And when you have athletes of this caliber, I think it's really awesome that we get to witness moments where they're winning. And it's the same. I mean, you can relate it back to hockey too. I mean, how great would it be for this sport? And as much as I hate Chicago, how great would it be for the sport in 5-6 years if, all of a sudden Bedard and the Blackhawks rattle off 2 championships in a 5-year span, or 3 championships in a 5-year span? I mean, they did it with Taves and Kane all those years. Think about how great it was for the league when Crosby and the Penguins went back-to-back in 16 and 17. How awesome will it hopefully one day be when we see Connor McDavid lift the Stanley Cup? I mean, I know Oilers fans would badly want that. But it does sports leagues better when their best players are winning. I personally believe that. And the same way, the MLB would be so much better if it was Mike Trout and the Angels ever doing anything in the playoffs. But that seems like it'll never happen.
As you can see, we're very knowledgeable about all sports. We just decided to do hockey podcast.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree with you.
I would talk about basketball too, but I refuse to admit that LeBron James is great. So.
As do I.
So yeah, that's my final thing. I'm hoping if I'm going to make an official prediction, I'm going to say the final score is going to be 24-21 Chiefs.
All right, I think that's a fair prediction. And honestly, by the time everybody starts listening to this or does listen to it, it'll either be halfway through the game or it'll be, Monday morning.
Game. If you're listening to this during the Super Bowl, I appreciate you, but enjoy the game, man.
Listen to it during the halftime show.
There you go.
But I would say you guys are going to hear this probably at some point throughout this week. The game will already have come and gone.
We'll see how wrong we were.
Yeah, I say we'll see if we have to put on clown shoes for the next show.
Oh, we will. We pretty much do, because every time we try and set up the next show, it blows up in our face. So
that's all right. So, in regards to the next show, I would just like to take a minute to let everybody know. Next weekend, I will not be around. I will be in Los Angeles visiting some family. So Brian and I are gonna either try and record when I get back, which will be Monday evening. If we're not able to make that work, there's a good chance Brian will come on and do a shorter show by himself. I still highly recommend you listen to that. Brian is extremely knowledgeable. I could listen to him talk about hockey for hours, and that's not being biased because he's my brother. The guy knows his shit,
It's because I'm
and he would just.
smart.
Yeah, I didn't say that.
I know.
So, but I mean, the guy went to school for broadcasting. I mean, if I'm not around, trust me, it's still going to be a good show if it's just Brian. So still check it out. Hopefully we can both be here, but if not, you're still going to get good content either way.
Yeah, and if nothing major happens in the league, I will probably just do something myself next Sunday. But if there's a lot of big stories that we got to talk about by the time next weekend rolls around, we will probably wait till Monday to do the show, because if something big happens, I don't want to just speak on it. I want to get your thoughts on it and stuff too. But if we have kind of a ho-hum week in the league, I'll probably just put something small together next weekend, or just talk about one subject for 20-25 minutes and nothing crazy. But, as we've mentioned twice now, whenever we lay out plans for a show, it always blows up in our face. So I can't wait to see how this goes wrong.
With that being said, we're about done here. I just want to take a quick second to thank our friends over at Buck a Puck for ALS and our friends over at Lighting's Property Management. They always do good work over there, and they're real close to us. So we appreciate them giving the opportunity to shout them out on our episodes, both organizations. Brian, you got any closing thoughts?
Nope, I think we covered everything we needed to today. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in for this week's episode of the Fresh Ice Hockey Podcast. Don't forget to follow us on social media. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram at Fresh Ice Hockey Podcast. And you can follow us on Twitter, or X as it's called now, at Fresh Ice Hockey. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we will talk to you again next week. Peace, and God bless.